Wondering how your mindset affects your life? How to bring more energy into your business and life? Millions of people around the world ask these same questions daily. You are in the right place. Learn practices that will help give your life the meaning and success you've been searching for. Welcome to the Charge Podcast, teaching you how to create habits around real goals every day. Practical life advice from those who made it. Here's your host, Gary Wilbers.
This sponsorship break brought to you by the Ascend Mastermind. In the midst of complexity of leading your business, new challenges are introduced almost every single day. It can leave you feeling disorganized, distracted, and downright confused. It doesn't have to be this way. We believe everyone should have the ability to reach their full potential in business and life. Make the time to invest in your business because it's time to kill the grind and find new flexibility and success. You don't have to do it alone. The Ascend Mastermind Peer Advisory Board will give you access to other like-minded individuals to share your challenges with and hold you accountable. It will help you move from stagnant to growth and give you more freedom in your business and life. To learn more how to apply, go to chargepodcast.com and click on the link, The Ascend Mastermind. Welcome, Chargers. We're glad to have you here again. It's 2022. Can you believe it? My gosh, I tell you, we've all set some goals. We've really decided what we want to accomplish in 2022. But the key is we've now got to take action. We have to charge. We have to create habits around real goals every day to reach those. And today's guest is going to help us in that area. And I'm so excited to have Jennifer Shaheen with us today. And I want to ask you, Jennifer, what problem do you solve?
Well, I solve, Gary, the problem of understanding where to start and what to use when it comes to digital technology.
All right. Digital technology, this is going to be a good one. I know it. Now, you're going to help us answer 3 questions a day. What are those 3 questions that you're going to help us as chargers that we can learn from you?
Absolutely. So today we're going to talk a little bit about what platforms we should be or should not be using in our digital marketing. We're going to talk a little bit about tips for each of our marketing channels. And also we're going to be talking about where data plays into things when it comes to marketing. And this is a really good one for your audience because it's going to be around a habit.
All right. This is excellent. It's going to be fun, Jennifer. And I thank you so much for joining the Charge Podcast. Jennifer is the founder and president of the Technology Therapy Group. She is recognized as an expert in planning, implementing, and translating digital marketing and technology. She is a digital transformational expert, user experience enthusiast, and data insight specialist, expertly guiding business owners through the intersection of marketing and technology for the last 20 years. That's why we're having her on the podcast. With her unique expertise that combines technical prowess, can't talk today, entrepreneurial insight, and marketing acumen, Jennifer's marketing strategy, brand development, and small business operation skills have aided companies in the retail, manufacturing, and hospitality, luxury, and even travel industries. So she's a sought-after presenter, so we're so glad to have her on the Charge Podcast. Welcome, Jennifer. It's great to have you here today.
Thank you so much, Gary. Thank you for that wonderful introduction.
Well, I can't wait to talk about this because I love digital marketing, but I think I'm like most business owners. I get frustrated too because there seems so much to do. What should I do? So let's just jump into that first one you talked about is, the advice you have for small business owners trying to do everything, but really when it comes to digital marketing, what do I need to do?
Well, I think that you hit the nail on the head, and I think it's really important. They're trying to do everything.
Yeah.
And, unless we're big companies like Coca-Cola or Viacom, right? We can't do everything because we don't have enough people or resources. And this is a tough question to kind of grapple with as businesses because we want to do more than we're doing. I know I'm a business owner. So really the tip here is especially because it's 2022, this is the best time to put fresh eyes on and say to myself, what channels really are working for my business and which ones are not working and why? So this will really open up the conversation of, is this where my customer or client is? And am I using the channel that really connects for those individuals?
So I don't have to be on everything?
You do not have to be on everything. And anyone who tells you you should be, we just need to smack them around. Because
okay, well, that is wonderful. But right there, I've got less stress already in 2022 because of that right there. And the thing is it just makes it so much easier, because the problem is doing everything. We tend to do nothing, of course, and that's what challenges us. So I am so excited about this. When we talk about, really managing those tips for those marketing channels, though, and the tips that you have for us, what would you share with us there?
Well, I want to finish up this first one.
Sure.
Because, and we can do it as part of a tip, is though you do not have to be on the channels, I do want you to protect them. So I think this is an important point, which is that you should always make sure, especially for someone like yourself, Gary, but as businesses, we really do need to protect our brand. So no surprise, when I started, we made sure technology therapy is locked up. So I always bring this up because there's nothing wrong with setting up a platform and writing in that platform. So let me use an example. We do not tweet often. It's not a big platform for us because that's not where our customer is. So on your Twitter platform, if that's not a good spot for you, then mention, hey, we're here, but follow us on Instagram. Ooh. So protect your platforms, but you do not have to use them all. Now, within this conversation and moving us into tips, Gary, the next thing I like to say here is that with each of your platforms, you do need to be realizing where your customer is. So I want you as a business owner or your team members to be comfortable with those platforms, but don't fall into a platform that's just comfortable for you and not where your clients are, right? So that's extremely important.
Yeah, because we tend to do what we know. And
right.
That may be the wrong channel. And that's a really challenge to us because, as business owners, we want that comfort too.
Absolutely.
But, yeah. So that's a great tip.
It's a very important one too, because, and I love the way you put that, is we have a tendency. So when you seek to hire people to support you or help you, you do need to look at people who challenge you. And I think that's extremely important. Also, again, it's 2022. What platforms are growing for your audiences that you really should be looking at? So, and then last but not least here in this tip side is, what is the path for your business? So one of the biggest mistakes that people make is they just jump right into using digital marketing. And one of the things that I like to talk a little bit about is really understanding the life cycle of your decisions of your customers. So we often refer to audience members, and this is both business to business or business to consumer. People are sometimes in a discovery phase where they might trip over your business and go, oh, that's great for me. Or they're in a I'm seeking you out phase. So that's a big thing, because social platforms are fabulous for discovery, but search platforms are wonderful for people who are seeking, right? Because we're already in the funnel, we're already in decision-making mode. And they both lend to the growth of our businesses. But as business owners, and me saying you shouldn't do everything, you really need to step back and say, the clients that seek to find me are going to be a faster path to purchase. The ones that discover me are going to take a little longer. And I need to understand how to nurture them both.
That is great advice there, because, not everybody wants to be sold right away. And they're just trying to discover what you're doing. And I think that's one of the mistakes that I see a lot of small business owners doing. They're putting up, buy this widget, get this now. those type of things. And instead, when they're discovering it, they have to know us some before they do business with us.
Exactly. And it's one of the reasons why so many small businesses, and actually not just small businesses, but businesses in general get very disappointed with the results of things like Facebook ads, because Facebook and Instagram, as we know, and TikTok, right? These are discovery platforms. And the correlation that they start to make is that they think they're going to see me on Instagram and they're going to buy my product. So they're going from discovery to purchase. And we know that's not true. We know that as customers, think about yourself. So we have to get into this mindset of when we're marketing, whether it's digital or not, is that we have to remember that it is not a straight path from seeing you to purchase, unless there's some sense of urgency, like your sink went out. And this is why, a plumber should always be on search engines, because what is the first thing I do? Plumber near me.
That's right.
So big, important thing that we really need to be kind of going, okay, I have this kind of business. Really, what are the steps, in consideration to purchase? And then we back into our marketing.
That is a great tip. I really appreciate you sharing that, because I think that's the mistake that we all make. And then I think the other area that we wanted to talk about was really this data side. And I think this is a confusing factor. And I won't say for everyone, I'll say for myself, it's even confusing as a business owner. And one that have heard this is really understanding why the data is so important. But how do we get those insights in our customers really to understand that data to help us really figure out what we should be doing?
Well, Gary, one of the biggest things that I see, and I think is really important, and I could probably even ask you, if I ask you if you have data, you'll say, yes, I have Google Analytics on my website, right? Or I have data from looking at my podcast, or I have data from my email. But now the question I'm going to ask you is, do you look at them together?
Nope.
There you go. So what happens to all of us, and the mistake we make, and this is, by the way, why Amazon is where it is and why Stitch Fix is where it is, right? They don't look at data in silos. They look at data in groupings. We just talked about the customer journey. We know that there is not a direct path to purchase. It doesn't go from see you on A to purchase on B. There's a whole other letters in the alphabet there, right? So when we understand that, that means we do need to look at our data on each platform with the central questions that we have for our business and look at it together. And by looking at your data together, you will better understand your customer, or maybe that you're driving the wrong customer, and that's why you're not getting the conversions you were looking for.
Yeah, that can be a real key. And, we don't do that. We're looking at them more in silos. And when you're putting them together, I could see how you could find some trends. Now you have a technology side behind you. So is there some things that you've done within your company that allows you to be able to see those together, Jennifer?
Absolutely. So just a little brief understanding of Technology Therapy Group. We're here to help businesses where they are today. So we do training classes, we do one-on-one mentoring, and then of course we do implementation and support. So one of the tools, because a lot of our businesses are, under $5 million, they're not really ready to invest in these high-end metric systems. We do like to use the tools that are in the marketplace. So one of the greatest tools that many people should look at is Google's Data Studio. Data Studio is free to use, and it is a way you can actually pull information from multiple platforms into a central system. There are others, of course, third-party applications out there where you can pay to do that. But I think that's the tip right there, Gary, is that we're really needing to look at things in a cohesive place together so we can start to find the trends in the business.
Well, that is very helpful because, that's the challenge that they have. And one thing I was just curious about, and it's kind of off, not exactly in those three areas, but I think it applies yet is, I know there's small business owners always thinking that they should buy their digital and focus on digital advertising and to be able to purchase. But then, of course, you hear the other side of the coin is, you should grow it organically when you're growing your online presence. So share with me what your philosophy is in that area of I know it varies by business, but how should I really what should I focus on? That digital advertising or more of the organic approach?
So a smart approach here is to understand both, right? And let me step back, if you don't mind, give me a few minutes to walk us through this, right? So the first is that organic takes time because you're dealing with algorithms. And what this means for everyone to really understand is that what happened 3 years ago and moving you up a search engine, or how many people are complaining now that their Facebook posts or Instagram posts aren't seen like they used to be. But organic doesn't give you insights the same way either. So not only does it take you longer, but as we probably all know, and maybe you don't know this, is that Google doesn't share with you what keywords somebody put into Google to find you organically. You sort of have to guesstimate that. So now let's step back and say, let's work smarter, not harder. This is where advertising is actually a benefit, is we actually coach our small businesses to spend a little money on digital advertising because it will give them the data insights that they cannot get organically. So by running a Google ad, you will then see what key phrases people typed in because you're paying Google. So Google has to give you something back to tell you, now take that information and work smarter and say, great, now I know what key phrases people are finding me or wanting to find me. And if you set your data up right, you'll know which ones tracked and converted. So therefore, you can now better organically optimize your business.
Yeah. So you learn from really both areas,
Yes.
and it becomes a benefit to the small business owner.
Correct.
The one thing that always comes up, I think, in a small business owner, somebody's listening, you're giving them lots of great information. And I was on your website. And the one thing I would tell people, you need to go there, and we'll give Jennifer's website at the end because she has a lot of classes that are free. There's some that you can pay to go, but she has that capability. She's a teacher, and you can tell from our conversation that she wants to educate you as the business owner. And I really appreciate that, because I will tell you, Jennifer, there's a lot of people in business, they're about collecting the dollars, but not really educating people on what we're doing through that process. So I just want to really thank you there. And before we kind of wrap up, and, time goes quick on every podcast, it seems, but I'll let you share what you think business owners really looking at 2022. We've talked about some of the strategies, some of the tips, some of the things they should consider. If you were sitting in their shoe and what you've shared with us, and give me something brand new too, what would you tell them? What would be the process that you would tell them to really give some consideration to?
Absolutely. So I think, and it being the beginning of our year, it's really important. I always feel like reflection is extremely important. And what I always want us to say is we need to look back and see what platforms or channels are working for you, and then set a goal for moving one of them, not all of them, one of them forward a certain percentage. So as we all know, if we see incremental changes and growth in our businesses, it has a very big lift in the bottom line. So that is an important thing. And I think most people would probably come on here and say, go do this on Instagram or go do this on Facebook, but that's not who I am as a business owner. It's really important that we reflect, and then we say, this has given me the greatest lift. I need to put a little more into this to give me even more in the future.
That is excellent advice. And I truly appreciate you sharing that with audiences. Really reflect on what you're doing and then set a goal in one area that you want to move forward in. I think that's great advice. So I truly appreciate you sharing that. I've got a couple questions I want to ask you in the recharge round before I let you go. We have two questions. As you know, the podcast is charged for a reason. It's an acronym for Create Habits Around Real Goals Every Day. What habit do you think's led to success in your life?
So for me, I think actually that's what it was. I had to develop habits. That was, for me, a hard thing to do. Is one of the reasons I started an agency, because I like playing in different areas. But part of playing in different areas means I was a little too scattered. So that was a big thing for me, is to create habits.
Yeah. And just think about that for yourself. What are you doing, Chargers? What area do you need to really improve? Maybe can you create that as a habit that would help you in that area? Now, my last question, I always love getting this feedback from people, because I think it's one for us to be kind of your questions you had, reflect back a little bit. I want to ask you, if you had one do-over in your life, what would it be?
This one's actually pretty easy, because I reflect on this very often. I wish I had created better systems earlier on. I have a lot in my head, and I think we all can agree. We all have a lot in our heads. We really need to systematize and get it out. Otherwise, we get stuck in a place. So that is my reflection. I wish I had done that when I started the business versus now I'm doing it, and I would have been further, farther, faster.
Yeah. And it's one of the things for small businesses, it really crimps your growth. And the challenge I always talk about for small business owners, what it does is it makes you rely so much on the individual. And in this day and age, we're still in that time. It's very hard to find good people, and it's hard to just find any people to go to work for us. But when you have systems in place, you can then bring someone in and they can really take advantage of those systems. And I see it all the time with clients that I coach, is when they don't have the systems, when they lose a key person, I mean, they lose a lot of their business, and it becomes a real challenge to them. So what a great advice there, of really looking back at yourself and saying, what systems do you have in place, and maybe deciding to put some in this year. So that is great advice, Jennifer. I truly appreciate you sharing that. Now, let them share with them your website and any of your social media channels that you want. We'll have put it also in show notes so they can access and be able to touch base with you.
Absolutely. So the best place to find us, of course, is technologytherapy.com. And then we are Technology Therapy Group on Instagram. We are Technology Therapy on Facebook. But honestly, if you just Google technology therapy, I've worked really hard at this, the first thing that comes up. So I hope to see you stop by our website. And again, just like Gary said, take advantage of some of our free sessions.
Well, I think what she's telling us, and we all should learn from this, is she practices what she's preaching. She's in the technology business, in the digital marketing age. So that's why she ranks so well in that. So I would tell you, I did go to her website, did some research there. Lots of great information, Jennifer. And there are some courses that you can purchase, but she has a lot of courses that are free to really let you understand how it works and to really learn. And I think that's the thing I love and that's why I love having guests on that first are teachers or educators. They're willing to share their knowledge versus try to sell something. So go to that. We'll have that in show notes, but it's technologytherapy.com. Check out her website, check her out on social media. And really, if you're struggling in this area as a small business, why not take advantage of someone that's an expert in that area? That's why I have these podcasts, is to have those guests on all the time. Jennifer, it has been a blast having you on, and I can't thank you enough for saying yes.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been so much fun talking to you.
Chargers, I'm going to tell you, here's going to be my action, because we could do 10 things. The one thing I want you to do, I want you to take Jennifer's advice, and I want you to reflect back and really take a look at what's working for you, and then decide if that's the area you want to continue to grow, that's fine. Or if you want to pick another channel, pick that channel. I am telling you from here, what I've learned from Jennifer, we're going to change our strategy, because we're trying to do a little bit on all channels. So the great things about having guests like Jennifer is you learn yourself. And I'm going to change it up because we put a lot of information out there, but we're not getting the results we want. So we're going to seek that out and be able to really do that for ourselves too. So just take a look at that. You're a business owner. Take a look at what channel is working for you. Decide if you want to continue to grow that, or maybe just reflect back and say, okay, I want to take this other channel to the next level, and really do the research to make sure it's right for you. Chargers, I can't thank you enough for joining us today. I hope you've seen benefit in this. Remember, all of our show notes will be in chargepodcast.com. If you were running or very active at the time of this podcast and was not able to write it down, or driving, we hope for sure you didn't write it down then. We have all that in show notes at chargepodcast.com. So just go there. Remember, I would love it if you'd like and share this podcast. Let others know about it. That's how we keep growing each and every week. Make it a great day. We'll see you here next week. Thanks for joining us.
This podcast is ended, but your life doesn't just stop. To continue your inspiring journey, head over to chargepodcast.com and access all the tools and resources mentioned on today's show. If you enjoyed this episode, consider sharing with somebody who may also benefit from the advice provided. That's chargepodcast.com. Until next time, charge in business and life.